Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a really fascinating piece of history. We're looking at British interests in South Africa, specifically right after the massive discovery of minerals there. We're going to see exactly how finding some precious resources in the ground literally rewired an entire nation's priorities, their international relationships, and ultimately their master plans for a whole region. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. We really have to start with one massive central question. Why was Britain so desperate to control the mines? And I want you to really focus on that word, desperate. We usually think of these giant global empires as acting with this cool, calculated detachment. But not here. The discovery of these minerals didn't just pique their interest, it induced an absolute panic. So we have to ask ourselves, what actually drives a world power into that kind of frenzy over a piece of land? Let's peel back the layers and see what was really going on.
Well, our source text lays it out completely in black and white, stating, quote, Britain was desperate to get control of the mines. Think about it. When minerals are found, that ground isn't just dirt anymore. It instantly transforms into a massive vault of unimaginable wealth. This wasn't just about having a presence in South Africa anymore. It was about absolute monopoly. Because, well, if you don't control the extraction, you just don't control the economic engine. That sheer desperation is the catalyst for absolutely everything we're going to talk about today.
But here's the catch. Britain couldn't just casually waltz in and take over. Their ambition was going head-to-head with a really paralyzing fear. Basically, they were terrified that another empire was going to beat them to the prize. Our source highlights a seriously dangerous geopolitical dynamic here. You had this leader named Kruger, and Kruger happened to be pretty good friends with Germany. Suddenly, Britain is sweating, constantly looking over its shoulder. It's a high-stakes chess match. If Germany leveraged that friendship and grabbed the mines first, that would be a complete and total disaster for British interests.
So you might be wondering, who exactly is this Kruger guy, right? So Kruger was the president of the Tsar, and that is absolutely crucial because the Tsar was the exact spot on the map where the minerals actually were. It's where the German friendship was fostered and where all of Britain's anxieties were basically crashing together. Kruger wasn't just going to hand over the keys to the vault. I mean, why would he? Especially when he had a heavyweight friend like Germany backing him up. So, facing this huge geopolitical threat from Germany and heavy localized resistance from the Tsar, the British, specifically the mine owners, realized a quick smash and grab just wasn't going to cut it. They needed a master plan. They actually took a step back and shifted their focus to the internal mechanics of how they were going to extract all this wealth efficiently. They figured out that to make this work, they needed two massive shifts to happen at the exact same time: modernization and union. These weren't just abstract, nice-to-have ideas. They were the literal blueprints for turning a chaotic gold rush into an unstoppable industrial machine.
Here is how that master plan actually breaks down. Step 1, modernize the industry. Step 2, create a union of South Africa. It makes sense, right? You can't just dig deep underground for minerals with old, outdated tools. You need advanced tech, sprawling infrastructure, and huge amounts of capital. The mine owners were incredibly eager to modernize, and here is the genius, and honestly the danger, of their logic. They knew that to protect a modern, massive industrial operation, they absolutely had to have a unified political framework. Creating a Union of South Africa was literally the only way to guarantee they could run this giant economic engine without anyone getting in their way.
Which brings us to the ultimate result: systemic control. Let's be super clear here. They weren't pushing for this union because they suddenly wanted diplomatic harmony. No, they wanted to bake their economic needs directly into the political structure of the entire region. It's kind of wild when you think about it. The union was basically a mechanism designed to take that initial frantic urgency and turn it into permanent, unshakable dominance. Because if you control the overarching government, you no longer have to negotiate for what you need. You can just mandate it. So what did this systemic control actually look like on the ground? Well, the reality was sweeping and pretty chilling. The Union would give them control over three critical pillars. First, all the land, completely monopolized for extraction. Second, the workforce under the traditional chiefs. They fundamentally disrupted those existing social structures just to funnel human labor straight toward the mines. And third, the workforce on white farms. Actually, they weren't just looking to hire a few miners. They were subjugating an entire region's labor apparatus to feed their industry, regardless of where those workers currently were. This was about total domination of both the landscape and the people. As we wrap up this explainer, there is one big question I want to leave echoing in your mind today. How did the desire for mineral wealth inevitably lead to the total subjugation of a workforce and a landscape? We literally started this whole story with the simple discovery of rocks in the ground. But as we've walked through this progression together, from the paranoia about Germany to the absolute demand for a unified government, we see that the pursuit of that wealth required total systemic control. It just goes to show how deeply interconnected economics and empire truly are. Extracting wealth is rarely just about the resource itself. It almost always becomes about controlling the human beings required to dig it up. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this today. Keep analyzing the structures around you, and I'll catch you in the next one.